The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And this is episode 207.
207.
What are we talking about today?
This is what other people think of you is none of your business.
Faux show.
Yeah, it's true.
That's a great statement.
I think
love it.
so, yeah.
All right. Well, before we get into that, anything you want to talk about from last week?
Yeah, last week we did the company that you keep matters. And I think this is a good follow-up to that, actually. Like, we didn't plan it that way. It just kind of happened.
No, yeah, you're right. We didn't.
I think it is a good follow-up. We received a message from a listener. Her name is Marilyn. And she also has a question. So this is comment and then into the questions.
Cool.
She says, "Hi, Danny and Samantha. I wanted to thank you both for everything that you do for the people in the spiritual community. I love this podcast and your radio show, Samantha. I feel like I learn a lot every episode. I wanted to submit a question. I have a 12-week-old puppy that is biting a lot, way more than any puppy I've had before. Do you think this means he will be an aggressive dog? Is there anything I can do to make it stop? I'm 46 years old and on blood thinners. I can't have him biting me all the time. Thank you again. Thanks again to both of you, Marilyn." Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess it would kind of depend on what is the dog.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, let's start at the beginning. This is a 12-week-old puppy.
That's the biggest point, yeah.
And puppies, Betty wants to chime in here and tell you her opinion, apparently. Puppies are like infants. And so, like, when people, because I do have people that come to me for this kind of thing, and I'll tell them, I am not going to be able to change this behavior. This is a puppy that doesn't understand yet. It's too young to understand when an animal communicator tells them don't do this, because they don't know why. It's, just like with kids. So we have to not set them up for failure and be prepared when the puppies are biting like this. And they all do this to one extent or the other. Just because this one is worse than any one you've had before, that doesn't mean anything at all. But what I would do is, when the puppy's biting, always have something that you can redirect the behavior with. So when the puppy starts biting, have a toy, something always nearby. Or if, occasionally you might not have something nearby. So then walk over with the puppy and get something and shove it in the puppy's mouth. And this is what you chew on, not my arm. This is what you chew on.
Yeah.
One of the other things that we did, especially with Zuma, is we used bitter apple spray. Yeah. And like, if there's certain parts that they like to bite all the time, then we spray the bitter apple. We did this a lot on your arms.
I still have to do that with Zuma.
Yeah.
He's a Great Dane. He's not aggressive.
No.
He's just big and powerful and doesn't know his own size and weight, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I have to redirect him.
Yeah, you have to.
Like, nope, not the sleeve, not the arm.
Yeah, because he comes up,
Here's a rope.
He comes up and he grabs your arm. Yeah, mine too. Just behaviors that he did as a puppy, that when he was a puppy, it wasn't a big deal because he wasn't 175 pounds. But now when a 175-pound dog puts its mouth around your arm, it gets scary. Yeah. So, yeah.
And they can pinch and break the skin, but
yes.
So Marilyn's right. The older you get,
yes.
If you're on blood thinners too, you got to be careful with that.
Absolutely. So I definitely would work on the redirecting there, but I wouldn't worry that this dog is going to be aggressive just because it's biting right now, because puppies are not aggressive. Again, they're like kids. They don't have those kinds of emotions built in them yet. They don't have the experiences in life to make them feel that kind of way. So they're just teething, and they teeth for a while. I don't remember how long, but I want to say it goes on for almost a year.
Yeah.
I can't really remember, but so yeah, redirecting, teething toys, things that you can put in the freezer. They make doggy teething toys. Those really help because it hurts. It hurts when those teeth are coming out and new ones are coming in.
Yeah.
And they're also just puppies and they're learning. So.
And the baby ones are significantly sharper than the adult teeth.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So if you can train them at a young age and redirect them, then when you get older, and they get their adult teeth, if they do, hit you, it's not quite as bad as a puppy teeth kind of poking your skin. It's much sharper.
Yeah, those little needle teeth are horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and puppies are so cute, and you just want to love them and play with them, and, but, yeah, you got to beware of those little needle teeth.
Yeah, Sabbath, our lab, he would used to crawl across the carpet and get your toes.
Yeah, carpet shark.
Yeah, we call him carpet shark.
Yeah, totally, with those teeth, those needle teeth. Yeah. So hope that helps, Marilyn, but really don't worry about that this is going to be an aggressive dog.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay, and then the next question.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Yes, thanks, Marilyn. The next question is from Shauna. She says, when you level up, is there always a semi-extreme situation you end up being in or witnessing where it literally tests how you respond? So when you're on the spiritual journey, especially if you're like, really trying to get somewhere with it, use your abilities, like Shauna's really trying to grow her ability so that she can, be a medium and do this kind of work herself. And so she is leveling up. And really what happens is when you go to level up, the universe tests you, and it will throw every possible test it can at you to see what you're going to do. And yeah, it is about keeping your composure, showing that you've grown and you've learned whatever it is that they're trying to throw at you. Yeah. There was one time I remember where the universe tested me before leveling up, and it was just a bunch of things that I used to be afraid of. Like, do you remember that there was a bat behind the board, our welcome board out front? Yeah. And I found it and I almost touched it and I was like, not a bat. But like 20 years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, my house is infested by bats. Just because of the one, I would have been totally freaked out. There was a whole bunch of stuff that happened and I was like, okay, universe, I'm knocking them down because...
Get out the hairspray and lighter.
But yes, it is what happens, and it's always different. Sometimes it's worse than others. Sometimes it's, like I said, these small things like a bat or somebody throwing up in front of me, or just things to test me to see like how much have you grown over the years. So yeah, when those things happen, you have to remind yourself this is just a test from the universe, and it just wants to see how I'm going to do. Yeah. But a couple of times I said, "Is that all you got, universe?" Yeah. Or I can take another. Come on, give it to me. Don't do that. Because they will take that seriously and they'll be like, oh, really? Well, I'll give you something else here. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's always about growing and learning, Yeah,
try to not pose the question of, what could go wrong next?
Yeah, don't ever ask those questions because the universe is always there listening going, well, I can't take one more thing, or, any of those things. Don't say them. But yeah, I think what you're going through, Shauna, is very normal. It gets easier the more and more you level up. You feel it coming. You feel that
there's like a buildup, like a pressure cooker.
There is, and you're like, I just can't take any more here.
Well, I think it's part of your subconscious, or even your conscious, is like, something's got to budge, man. Yeah. So you start pushing, and theoretically, not literally, but you're pushing consciously. You're kind of like, I've got to get myself to a different place.
Yeah, totally. I want to get past this level onto something else. And you might want to push it in a certain direction, and the universe pushes back in the direction you're supposed to go. So it is tough, but I think it does get easier. You'd start to understand it more as maybe what it is that once you really understand, okay, this is what's going on, and this is how I pass this test, and this is how I level up and make this stop. So.
But she makes a great point. It sure feels that way, that's what's happening.
Absolutely, it does. It's tough, but So I hope that answers your question, Shauna.
Thanks, Shauna.
And then let me get to the reading. This week's reading is for Sunshine, and she has a dog that passed away recently, or this is her grandma's dog. She says, "This is Bobby and my grandma Lorraine. Bobby crossed the Rainbow Bridge last Saturday, and my grandma is pretty heartbroken. Does she have anything she wants to say to my grandma? Also, Bobby's sister Dixie, who's a cat, hasn't stopped looking for her. Not sure if they can communicate to each other, but I know Gram would want her to know she was so loved all her long years." So this is Bobby. She's a cute little, like, Chihuahua type.
Cute.
Yeah, little guy. Okay, so let's talk to Bobby. And then I also have a picture of the cat. What happened was this, people put the readings in and then it takes a few weeks to get to them because there's a lot of them and I only do one a week. So this was from a couple of weeks ago. So when this came in and I had the picture of the cat, I told the cat, what happened. So hopefully after you submitted that picture, the cat understood more and that part of things calmed down. But let's talk to Bobby. So Bobby says that one of Grandma's most important things for her to do was to keep Bobby warm. When she felt like Bobby was cold, she wanted to make sure that she was warm. She doted on her and wanted to make sure that she was comfortable. But this is the very first thing that Bobby's pointing out. So she probably put clothes on her or blankets or whatever, but she really always wanted to make sure that she was comfortable. It was a big part of what Bobby's saying here, I feel. Let's see what else she wants. She always felt loved. She didn't really know, like, that this was unusual. It's not really unusual. People treat their animals like this all the time, but there are a lot of dogs that don't live this kind of life where they're catered to and they're treated like kids. And so Bobby did not know until she got to the other side that this is not something that is, all that.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, guaranteed. That's a good word. That this doesn't always go this way. And she's very blessed for the fact that she had such a beautiful life with your grandma. She says that she visits her in dreams. So I'm not sure if she's seeing that yet. But if she's not remembering her dreams, because that tends to be one of the reasons why you don't know that they're visiting you. If she doesn't remember, then tell her before she goes to bed to set an intention to remember her dreams, and Bobby will come visit. But she's also visiting other ways, the normal ways where it'll be like things like hearing her name or smelling her, hearing her toes tap on the ground, things like that is things that she's doing to try and show she's around. She's also showing me the shadow. So Grandma might be seeing the shadow version of Bobby around, but she's always around. She still tries to get her attention. I see her kind of staring up at your grandma. It looks like it's mealtime. And she's looking up at her like, I can't wait. Like, where's my food? She always liked the little things that grandma would sneak into her food is what she's telling me. So I hope that helps and that grandma's doing okay after the loss and that the kitty is too. So please, let me know.
I think the cat would know before we would even know, because Bobby's energy's still around there.
Yes.
And so what might appear as or be perceived as the cat sort of looking for Bobby, the cat is actually looking at Bobby.
That's very possible, yeah. There is grief, too, that's associated because just like with us, even if you can feel that there, you're still missing the physical part of things. So I definitely felt like when I connected to the cat that he was mourning, grieving. Yeah. So hopefully that's gotten better.
Cool.
So there you have it, Sunshine.
Thank you, Sunshine.
Bobby. So let's give our info before we get into the episode. So you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. I have a radio show that airs every Wednesday on VoiceAmerica.com on the Empowerment Channel. It is a good time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every week.
Yeah.
And then you, sir.
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Fabulous.
Yee.
Well, let's do it.
All right, then. Episode 207. What others think about you and none of your damn business. Okay?
I don't know why I didn't realize this until, I was older and in my spiritual awakening. Because one of the first things, if you remember, when I found out that I was a psychic, it was don't tell anybody.
Right.
I don't want anybody to know about this because I was so worried what people were going to think about me.
Right.
So worried about it. If I would have allowed that to take over and be what controlled me, I wouldn't be here today.
True.
Because this job in particular, I had to really toughen my skin because people will say things, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what today's episode is about.
Yeah.
Most people really just want to be liked, and you can't control who likes you and who doesn't. And so that's what a lot of this comes down to. And that's another thing that I think we have a hard time with is not everybody likes me.
Nope.
How is that possible?
Nope.
But
somewhere, someplace, sometime, your name is mentioned. Somebody cringes in the world.
Yeah. One of the things about, what people think of you not being any of your business is that opinion is perception based.
Yes.
So somebody's opinion of you is just that.
Yeah.
They don't know you. They don't see you on an everyday. Nobody knows you like you do.
Yeah.
And nobody thinks the same way about you that you do. And nobody thinks the same way as somebody else does.
Yeah.
So every person that you come in contact with has a completely different perception of what kind of person you are.
Yes.
And that's hard, I think, for a lot of people to accept. They want people to see them how they see themselves, if they see themselves in a good light, or they represent themselves in a way that this is how they want the person to see them. But a lot of times they don't realize that that thing that they're trying to make people think about them by doing a particular action or whatever actually makes them think the opposite of them. You know, it's a very strange type of reality when it comes to
and
this.
some of my closest friends didn't start out that way. That was this perception of the other.
Yes.
Of what you thought they were. And then you really find out who they are, and then they become one of my closest friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Absolutely, because you can't judge a book by its cover, first of all.
You shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't. But you really can't.
Yeah,
you know,
you can't.
Even as a psychic, like, I can tune into somebody and try and figure them out, you know,
Well,
and
that's
all of
different.
that,
Yeah,
figure
you're
out
kinda
what they
reading
think
the
about
book.
me. Yeah. I do not tune into people ever to find out how they feel about me.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. We were talking the other day about, I went to get my nails done. And, you know, I go to one of the Vietnamese places where they talk about you, the other customers, or whatever it is that they're talking about. But you were like, I would love to go in there and like record it one day. And there's apps that you can do this where it will translate it for you. But if you've ever seen the episode of Seinfeld where what's his name? Costanza's dad. When he does this, he goes into a nail salon and he speaks Vietnamese.
Yeah.
And they start talking about how nasty his feet is or whatever, and he starts freaking out. And it's like, but you wanted to know what they're saying about you. Like, what did you expect?
Yeah.
You know? So I don't ever want to do that, ever. Not once. You know? But I'm sure there are people that have. Have gone into those places and you know, seen what the translation is. But do you go back to that place again? Or are you embarrassed about, because you know that that's what this person is thinking of you?
Well, I mean, does it really matter?
To a lot of people it does.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't.
Not in the grand scheme of things.
No, it really shouldn't. You know.
I mean, their job is to deal with feet.
Yeah.
Right? As an example. And so they probably see thousands of millions of feet, you know, in a year. And so what?
Right. So
they
what
have
if,
an opinion.
Yeah.
They might have an opinion of all the feet.
They might.
Who cares?
So I have funky feet. My second toe is bigger than my first toe.
That's like data for them to store.
Right.
You know, like in their brain. It shouldn't take up space in yours.
No, it shouldn't. Yeah. But yeah, like, I'm not worried. If they're going to talk about my big toe, you know, let them talk about it. What difference does it make, you know? It's
when she says the big toe, she's not referring to what you and I would think of as the big toe. It's actually the neighbor of the big toe.
Yeah.
Maybe big toe do.
There's a lot of people that have that.
Yes.
I'm sure that there's some people listening that their second toe's longer than their first toe. But you know
Much
what? Hey,
longer.
It's one of those things that's unique about me. No, it's not, but that's okay. Anyways, so something else that we kind of get caught up in is assuming that we know what somebody else thinks or feels about us. And this is really setting us up for disaster. Because like I was saying, like even for me, I can't necessarily read minds, but I could figure out what somebody feels about me by tuning into them. Why do you want to do that? You know? So, but unless somebody verbalizes to you exactly what they are thinking, you can never be sure what they are actually thinking. So you're just causing yourself emotional damage. Yeah. You're causing issues in a friendship possibly, or wherever it is. So yeah, it's, if you ever, I tell my clients this too, because I do get a lot of people that have these kinds of issues, is like, if you ever think that somebody feels a certain way about you and it makes you uncomfortable, why not just ask them? This is where life really is super simple, but we have to make it so complicated.
Yeah.
If you are curious about how somebody feels about you, just ask them. It might catch them off guard because they're not used to people asking those kinds of things. But,
Right.
it helps friendships, it helps relationships because you're not assuming. And you are asking and you're putting it out there, like whatever it is,
Yeah.
so that maybe you can talk about it if there's a reason it needs to be talked about, but
Right.
assumption is a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all have faults too. And that's something that I think that we have a hard time with is recognizing that we all have our faults. So when other people recognize the faults in us, especially if it's like shadowed to us, if it maybe even something that, we're like, oh, don't talk about that. Then it becomes even bigger.
And another point too, I think going back a second ago is that when you were talking about if you were actually to address somebody, in a respectful way about maybe what you might be feeling or wondering, that if that person's too afraid to be honest, that's not your issue.
Right.
That's again should not take up space in your mind. Mm-hmm. Like if you can clearly tell by their energy and their body language, like, oh, no, everything's totally cool.
Yeah.
No problem. But sort of giving you that cold shoulder.
Right.
Let that be, occupy them.
Yeah, exactly.
Not you.
No. Yeah. It's not going to help you.
Right.
It's their issue. So I asked our listeners to hear, have you ever heard someone talk bad about you and wish that you had never heard what they said? And 44% said yes several times. 50% said yes, and 6% said no. Alicia said, and it stays in my head. And Sunshine said, I'm voting no, but it comes with a catch. I feel like I was always on eggshells trying to please people so nobody could talk bad about me. Otherwise, it would tear me apart for the rest of my life. And that sucks as much as gossip, in my opinion. Not being my true self. I'm better at being me now, but do make mistakes. Here's one of the things about not being yourself. If you're not yourself, you're not attracting the right people.
Right.
So you want the wrong people to think what you want them to think about you.
Right. And probably still judge you anyways.
Right, exactly. It's, yeah. I was talking to you about this the other day, actually, that one of the things that I've always kind of had an issue with is the size of my nose. And my mom used to tell me that I had an African-American nose and Asian eyes. But my mother was the only person that said that to me until I had this run-in with a very not nice person when I was about 18, 19 years old who used the N-word to describe my nose. Wow. And at that moment...
That's classy.
Yes. But at that moment, I felt called out. I felt like, oh, somebody besides my mom recognizes my wide nose, and it has been a problem. It's not a problem so much anymore, but like I did at one point go to a plastic surgeon and ask about, having my nose fixed, but because it's wide, they don't recommend it. Then you end up with like Michael Jackson nose.
Right.
So he was like, no, your nose is perfect for your face. And when he said that, I was like, what's wrong with you? My nose is not perfect for my face.
Yes, it is.
But you know what? It is, and it's who I am, and it gives me character. And you know what? Maybe it's a whole part of this whole lesson of mine in this life is, to not worry about those types of things.
Right.
But that is one time where I wish I wouldn't have been told what this person was thinking. What they felt, because it did hurt. It did sting at first. It was like, ouch.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks. So, but I think a lot of us have had those kinds of experiences, or like overheard somebody talking about you or whatever, and or seen something.
Right.
Teenagers have a way of doing that too, where they're like, ooh, let me tell you what this person said about you. And so, yeah, a lot of us have those things too, I'm sure, from our teenage years and whatnot. Yeah, Betty, huh? I also asked our listeners, do you ever feel self-conscious that people are talking bad about you? And 56% said yes sometimes, 22% said yes a lot of the time, and 22% said no. I don't care.
Yeah.
So
I used to.
Yeah, I used to, but I really don't anymore.
Yeah.
But yes, I used to be really self-conscious about that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Melissa said, I used to until I learned it's not my business what people think. Their version is never going to be the same, and I don't let it bother me anymore. That's it, Melissa, right. Really. And the fact that you've got that is fabulous, because it does take a lot to tell yourself it doesn't matter. You know, I wonder sometimes with my job, and there's people that I'm friends with that don't believe in this type of thing.
Right.
So you're friends with me, and you know me personally, and you know the type of person that I am.
Right.
But you don't believe what I do for a living. So what do you really think about me? You know what? It doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter. No. If that person wants to be my friend, then they obviously know that I'm a good person. And if they think other things, then why are they hanging around me?
Right.
You know?
And who's to say that, like, any two people's perception of you is even the same?
It's not. Nobody's, yeah.
Because we all have this energy and things about us that some pick up and some don't. Mm-hmm. Or some pick up certain things more than others.
Yeah. Yep. One thing about this, too, is that if a person is judging you, they're actually judging themselves.
Exactly. That's what's going on.
Yep. We judge people by our standards. So one's perception of others can reveal a lot about their own personality. Yeah. So we see our shadow selves in somebody else. So yeah, if somebody's saying something about you, they really need to examine that in themselves, because they're probably dealing with the same kind of issue.
Yeah.
You know, something that I've seen a few times since this whole spiritual awakening is just being unfriended by people. You know, like today, actually, I noticed that I've lost another friend, and I'm like, oh, yeah, exactly. But which number spiritual meme was it that made you leave? Or which picture of my dogs was it? Picture 580? I don't know.
Way more than that.
That's true. That's true. You should see my phone, how many pictures I have there. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, I didn't even go through my friends, where probably like 10 years ago, I would have gone through my friends to try and figure out who it was. Yeah. I don't really care anymore. Yeah. If you left, that's on you. I don't really care. Yeah. You know, it's freeing.
I had it happen to someone pretty close to me recently, and I was just like,
yeah,
whatever. You know, like I'm not going down that road.
Yeah. Yeah, no explanation at all.
No, just like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Someone pretty close to me.
Yeah. There's that meme, I can't remember, it's the cowboy, and he goes, well, bye then.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay.
Right. I'm not directly close to me, but close to me through someone else.
Close enough, yeah.
Close enough, but it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it's going to be then. But again, you know, what upsets somebody to that point? To not just like unfriend you, but block you.
Yeah.
You're carrying around some issue.
Right.
So, you know.
Yes.
I mean, I don't really post a whole lot of much, period, or negativity.
You know, that's something else, is that people in general are very sensitive. And it's hard because, like, with anybody, you know, you have your own life, and you're busy, you have a job, you have a family or whatever. And so you don't always get to everything. And some people take that very personally. Or even like with the show, like, you know, I try and have as much prepared and have everybody, you know, in our discussion group have their stuff set, but we don't always get to everybody. And it's not because their comments aren't good or whatever. It's just because we don't get to everybody. But sometimes people get their feelings hurt, and it's like, that's not my fault. Right. If people get their feelings hurt, that's something inside of them,
right?
You know, and I feel bad about that. Like, sometimes I forget to return messages, and I feel so bad. I'm like, I hope that person doesn't think it was personal. I'm forgetful, and I'm very busy, or sometimes it might take me a while, you know.
Yeah, and we're getting old.
Yeah, and getting old too. But, you know, life is busy. And so these things, when people forget to get back to us or whatever, we shouldn't take it personally, because we don't know what's going on in that person's life, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Just, it goes back to the assumptions, and the assumptions can really mess with our heads.
I find myself, you know, in this process in life now, considering a lot more of the, you know, possibility, as opposed to just jumping right to, you know, some conclusion and then getting yourself all worked up.
Mm-hmm. I've been waiting for a text message from my aunt, and I've texted her. I texted her 2 weeks ago, and she ignored me. I texted her on Thursday, and she's ignored me. Now, I could sit here, and I can play out all the scenarios of what's going on, or I can just sit here and wait and just see, what is actually really going on. It's those scenarios that make us crazy. It's wondering what that person is thinking about you that makes you crazy. And the thing is that we usually are wrong. We're usually so wrong about what they're actually thinking, It's like you message somebody and they don't get back to you for a week and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I didn't see it or whatever. And you're like, oh, guess what? I've been sitting here for the last week cursing you out because I didn't think you liked me. It's like, it's human nature. Mm-hmm. But if we could not do it, we would be so much happier. We really would. I've worked really hard on this, and I will say that I'm a much happier person now that I really just don't care. Mm-hmm. But here's a flip side to things, okay? Even though it's good to ignore what people think about you, it may actually benefit you to take a break from like this part of things periodically and take constructive feedback from the people that you trust about your shadow parts or unknown aspects of your personality. Yes. Because I'll tell you that in this spiritual awakening and doing my shadow work, I now hear the voices of people from my past and what they said about me and me going, that's not true. Yeah. That's not true. Well, sometimes you might have an argument with somebody and they say something that's not true. But a lot of the time, somebody might actually try and tell you, look, this is what you're doing wrong. This is how it makes me feel. And you just don't listen because you don't think that it's possible that you're like that. And that happened to me a lot in this,
No, I think you make a great point is you got to be somewhat open to a general, maybe consensus of like what it is you're like or not like. Yes. But again, you're not looking for other people to mold you as a person. I guess the point is I think what I'm saying is it doesn't give you license to walk around and be an a-hole to everybody and say, I don't care what it is you think of me. That's a whole different thing.
That's different, yeah.
So.
In the high school, it was my senior year, I went to an all-girls school, and in my religion class, the teacher, she put this thing together, and it was really cool. She gave a list of all of the seniors, their names, and every other senior got that list and had to write one thing about every person that they felt about them. Positive thing, you're not going to sit there and write, you're an asshole, something like that, but something positive. And when she did this, I know I was not the only one that was concerned about what they were going to see, because you don't really know how other people look at you and
maturity levels.
Maturity level. Like there were some people, honestly, in my class that I couldn't say a whole lot of nice things about, but you have to come up with something. But like one of my biggest things when I was in high school is I just didn't think I was pretty. I just didn't. And it really, like my weight and all of that, I just felt like, And in the thing that she gave to me that everybody said about me, there were a lot of people in there that were saying like gorgeous and all, and I was like, what? People look at me like that? But the thing is that what's beautiful to one person is not necessarily beautiful to another. Absolutely. You may think, as my husband, that I'm beautiful, where, you ask Brad Pitt and he'll be like, oh yeah, no, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Mm-hmm. I think it's like we're kind of walking pieces of art or sculptures. So everybody's different, yet it will be appreciated by someone somewhere. Just like certain artwork somebody might not like, somebody else will love it.
Yes. That to me is one of the ways that I think we can figure out like who our soulmates are, or who we're supposed to be with, is if they love those things about us that maybe we don't necessarily love about ourselves. It just shows that, there's a different kind of love there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, something to take into consideration is that the more successful you are, the more opinions people will have of you.
Yeah.
The more money you make, the more opinions grow.
Yes.
If you're creative and paint pictures, create courses, or write books, then you will face a lot of opinions about your work, but also about you as a person. The more you are out in the world, the more people feel that they can judge you. And this is how celebrities live every single day. And I feel sorry for them.
Right.
Like, we live in Southern California, and occasionally we might see, we haven't seen a lot of A-list celebrities, but, minor ones. And I ignore them because I feel like if it was anybody else, I would ignore them.
Right.
So they deserve the same respect that anybody else does. But that's not how the majority of people look at this. No. It's like they're entitled to that person because they know who they are. And then you're going to have all of these opinions about you. And imagine, like, if these celebrities that, like, they have all kinds of opinions from people. And if they listen to all of these opinions or any of them,
right.
their heads would be very, messed up. And I'm sure some of them are. I'm sure they are,
Yeah.
Even with family, it's like I've told the story about how I found out about that I have my biological father. And that was only a little over a year ago. And, here I am assuming that he's my biological father. And so he's just going to, love me for who I am or whatever. Right. But that even though he has psychic visions, doesn't really believe that I'm a psychic. And that's like, ouch. Your own daughter. I mean, I know that, we just met and all, but I'm your daughter and you don't believe what I do for a living? Like, okay, bye.
A lot of what he thought was not right, I don't think.
No. Yeah, that's when you go, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I asked our listeners, what kinds of things have you heard people say about you that hurt your feelings or make you wish that you didn't know that they felt that way about you? Yeah. And there's a bunch of them here, so we'll go through these.
Okay.
Nancy said, someone once told me to my face that I was a know-it-all. If that's the worst thing they can think of me, then I am doing something right. By the way, I don't know anything. I just know a little bit of everything. Or I don't know everything. Just know a little bit about everything. Hey. Yeah, absolutely. But again, that's that person's opinion. You may have somebody in your life that loves that about you because you have that knowledge or whatever it is. Right. So that person that doesn't like that about you, well, bye then. Again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jen said, I'm a nurse. When my mom was in hospice, I heard my dad speaking with someone in the hallway and heard them ask him what I did for a living. My dad replied, I was an RN, and they responded with, she's an RN with her personality. I may have been more sensitive and emotional due to the situation we were in with my mom close to passing and her illness accumulating over the last 2.5 years, but it definitely hurt my feelings. Yeah. That was 10 years ago, and I still remember the conversation plain as day.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I don't care as an RN how much death you've actually seen when it comes to your own mother.
Yeah.
Nothing compares.
No.
So, yeah, were you emotional? Of course you were.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The next one is from my sister, Amanda. She said, I was an alcoholic for years. I never drank before or during after work. I thought I did a pretty good job of hiding my addiction because I only drank in front of a few select people. One day, I was called into the principal's office. Trust me, it's as scary as an adult as when you're a kid. Another employee had reported me smelling of liquor and accusing me of drinking on the job. I know that I had not been drinking that day, but I assumed the smell was coming off of me was due to sweating out the whiskey from the night before. In the end, I was told to just chew gum or something because all teachers drink at night. We just chew gum and spray perfume so you can't smell it the next day. The point was, however, that I had now been accused and the entire staff knew. After that, I was the butt of a few jokes. I no longer suffer from that addiction and hold my head high when I walk past them. I am proud of myself and happy to show them that I no longer deserve that stereotype.
Well, good for you, Amanda.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's tough because especially if you know that like there's something like that going on and you're struggling with addiction or you're struggling with divorce or whatever it is, and you hear people talking about you or snickering and spreading lies or rumors or whatever, it can be very detrimental to your mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of that was flying around my divorce, but I didn't. I was just more like, anybody want to ask me something? Come ask me. I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah. And, with divorce, there's always, people are usually going to pick a side.
Right.
They have to. And so there's, that's just the way it
how
goes.
Yeah.
And so, I don't, anybody that, my ex-husbands that wants to talk, they talk. I'm not the same person that I was 15 years ago.
No.
And so those people, if they're talking about me now, they don't know me now.
Right.
And so again, talk all you want, but you're not talking about me.
Yeah.
Let's see. Megan, she said, and I think Megan is new to the discussion group, so welcome, Megan.
Welcome,
We're happy
Megan.
to have you. It was more what people didn't say. My grandma suffered from dementia before she died, and my aunt was her caretaker. My aunt, for some reason, had my grandma believing that I was out to hurt her or something, which was not true at all. My grandma disowned me and told the rest of the family why. Not one person questioned her reasoning or came to me about the situation, and a few of them disowned me along with her. When I asked my aunt why she did this, all she would say is, "You know why." I still don't know why. My grandma died, and I still don't speak to most of my family. That's really sad, and I'm really sorry to hear that, Megan. Especially when you try and address it and figure it out. Right. So what it is, but it happens a lot in families.
And then this is where you have to practice this rule is because if you carry that around always with that sort of question mark hanging over your head.
Yeah.
It's taking up so much energy and space in your mind,
Yeah, it really is.
To put that thought into it. So releasing it and letting it go and going, well, if I'm not supposed to know, then I'm not supposed to know.
Right.
And in the end, when everybody's crossed over, that will be known.
Right.
Even if you're the last to know.
Yes. Absolutely. I've kind of been the black sheep of my family, and I never really understood why. And this was another thing, in shadow work that I did, was trying to really figure out what it was that my family members don't like about me. And one of the things that I had to come to terms with, and I don't say this egotistically at all, but they were jealous of the attention that I got from my grandmother and my grandfather.
Sure.
And that wasn't my fault. And so, sometimes people just don't like us because of something that isn't our fault. Yeah. And it just is what it is. I can't change their opinions of me or, whatever. And that's fine.
Right.
If you're jealous of that, then again, nothing I can do.
And kind of, again, going back to that earlier comment that somebody shared, I can't remember who it was, but just that if you're making an honest effort in a non-combative way to address it.
Yeah.
To ask. Maybe for your own learning and growth, maybe there's something I could change.
Right.
Or apologize for, do something different. If you're making that honest effort, and it's pure, and it's not coming from anger and defensiveness, if that person is not willing to meet you halfway, that's their issue.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? You make a good point. And I've done that a couple of times, when you and I have had an argument where I feel like I'm telling you something that maybe you did that bothered me. And I've said to you, now tell me something that I can do, something that you would like me to change, that I'm doing wrong. Because I feel like in relationships, a lot of times it's one person is you did this and you did this. And that's not the way it should be. It's you're in a relationship, you're both going to have your issues with each other.
Yeah.
And so you should be able to say, this is the issue that I have with you. What's an issue that you have with me? And work on it and communicate. And again, it's so simple. It's so simple. But for whatever reason, it's so scary for us to communicate on that level. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're taught not to.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Okay, we still have more here, so let's read another one. This one is from Hillary. She says, I've blocked so many out, but anything that has to do with the old negative, angry me, I'm not that person anymore, and I don't want to hear about her. She's gone and won't be coming back.
Right.
I love that, and I totally agree with that. If you knew me 10, 15 years ago, you don't know me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I grew up with this in my life that was pretty prominent, and that I had a relationship with somebody that for 20 years practically didn't look at me and didn't acknowledge me. And this was a close family member. And I did, like any kid, you do stupid things. To a certain degree, I wasn't like that reckless, but
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time like trying to figure it out and trying to make that restitution or whatever it was that I could make a difference in.
Yeah.
And my mind was always thinking to the future, like about, well, what about when I graduate high school? Well, that person wasn't there.
Yeah.
What about when I have my first child? Or like, that's jumping too far ahead. When I move out to my first place, that person wasn't there.
Yeah.
My first child, that person wasn't there. My first marriage, that person wasn't there.
Yeah.
And, this caused me a lot of grief until I finally said, I got to let it go.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And once I did that, then of course, all of a sudden, wouldn't you know that I have gotten married and had a home and now have a child, and this person is now interested.
Right. Yeah.
And I could shun them completely with all the most rude statements and comments I could think of.
Yeah.
Or I couldn't let that go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so, but it took me a long time.
Yeah.
To finally let it go. To realize that I think what we're dealing with here is not necessarily all my problem.
Right. Yes, exactly.
If you will.
Exactly. The way that somebody feels about you has a lot to do with their own issues. Mm-hmm. And so they need to deal with that themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Few more here. So let's read this one. This is from Laura. She said, when we went on holiday with a family of friends a few years ago, the mom said she was reluctant as I was younger than her and had a good bikini body, so I guess it made her feel self-conscious. I spent the whole time conscious of myself, trying to accommodate everyone else. I know some people may be thinking, you have a good figure, boo-hoo, but it's not what's on the outside. It's who you are as a person, and people are so quick to judge you no matter what you look like. I can talk from experience on the flip side, is that I have always been afraid to be out there in a bathing suit. Even at water parks, I don't like to just be out there. I like to have a shirt over whatever because I don't want to hear about it. But the fact is most of the people that are walking around those places are also overweight,
And feeling the same way.
Feeling the same way is exactly right. Some of the thinnest people feel the most insecure about their weight. And that blows my mind, But I never would have said to a thin friend, don't, show your body because my body doesn't look like that. Like, that's a problem that your friend has, and that sucks that you had to spend your vacation like that. But I get it, especially if you're like called out on something like that and then it's awkward and weird. Like, okay, well,
I won't be going anywhere with you.
Right, exactly.
That requires bathing suits anymore.
Yeah, jeez. The next one is from Patricia. She said, I wasn't ready for 18 years old, so I needed direction. Decided to give law enforcement a try. Went to the academy, worked really hard, and graduated. Went to the police department just outside my town that my husband was born and raised in, and was well known. I didn't know at the time that he had been affiliated with the department since he was 14. At that time, women were not welcome into police work. No matter what I did, rumors started I was only offered the job because of him. Wives told their husbands not to work with me, and I was the last one to get new equipment or assignments. I started to think maybe they were right. You have to trust your partner, and I didn't feel they trusted me. A kind lieutenant told me not to give up. Years later, we decided one cop in the family was enough, so I resigned. In my heart, I knew that I had earned that job, and in my head, I had no doubts. That really sucks, too, when you're doing your job and,
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's a good attitude.
Absolutely it is.
Like, you did something that a lot of, in particular, women and men, including myself, would be terrified. I wouldn't be able to even get out of the academy. I'd have keeled over dead.
Me too.
But anyways, that's not even
Day
the point.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I just, you know what?
Yeah.
A gun? You got to point this at somebody? Sorry.
Stun gun, I'll stun
not
myself.
saying that this person, gets off on that. But no, you did something. You gave yourself a challenge and you accepted it and you completed it and you moved on.
Yep, and you should be proud of yourself. Exactly.
Yeah, you should be proud of yourself.
Yep, you didn't let those people stop you because a lot of people will want to do that. They will want to hurt your success. That makes me sad.
Yes, they think it's, for some reason, there's not enough to go around or the spotlight is on the wrong person. And that's just, unfortunately, part of a lot of this is just, whatever society, things we've taught young people at a young age or didn't teach them. And this is what you get. Yes,
exactly. The next one is from Kat. She said, when I unmask, I am annoying. They didn't know I am autistic, so when I finally felt comfortable unmasking around them and later found out they thought I was being annoying, it was really hard. It has caused a lot of issues for me to where I rarely feel comfortable unmasking and now have issues knowing who I really am without the masked persona I show others. I totally get that. It is really hard for us to show our true selves to a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people that know, like me. There's not a lot of people that really know you. There's, it's the people that you're closest to. Yeah. Everybody else, they just have this perception of you.
And sometimes even the ones you're closest to, that trips them out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true as well. Yep.
We're just different,
Yeah. 2 more here. The next one is from Nicole. She said, before therapy, I used to get offended and angry so easily. I brought my cat to work one day because she had a checkup appointment. She had heavy brows and always looked like she was glaring. My coworker looked at her and said, yep, that's Nicole's cat, all right. She's pissed off already. I didn't like how I get upset so easily. I couldn't help it. I didn't realize at the time that stored anger did that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know what? That comment, you could either just laugh it off and go on with your day, or you can let it ruin your entire day.
Yeah.
That's really something that I've learned too is like, sometimes even like in married couples, like you'll say something and be snappy or whatever. And that's just life. And I might snap back or whatever. But where maybe I used to before, like sit with that and stew and be like, he snapped at me. Now I just, shrug it off and we just go on with our day because it's normal. It's like, this is life.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've for many years, I think, like kind of in regards to that last statement, is that some things that happen in life that can jar a memory can actually like feel like you're sort of like going in reverse, time warping to back to the very moment that sort of started that for you.
That's the trigger.
That trigger, yes. And realizing in the moment of when the current moment of what's happening that I can't take that out on this person.
Right.
Because that isn't the same person. This is a different situation.
Yes.
So if that stored anger is there, man, it can be gnarly.
It can.
And it could come out. And I won't lie, I had a temper problem for a long time in growing up, especially a young kid.
Yeah.
And sometimes that got me in a lot of trouble and sometimes it didn't. But a couple things happened. The awareness of like this person realizing I get so offended and upset quickly.
Right.
And the knowledge of learning how to let it go.
Yes, absolutely.
And that some things aren't A, worth it, and B, can't take those triggers and treat somebody a certain way because it reminded you, it sent you back to a moment that was greatly affected you,
Yes, absolutely. That's something that I see a lot in love with people. And I'm overly sensitive. So like, I totally understand that. And especially in my first marriage, in the beginning of the relationship, when things would happen, I always felt like he doesn't love me anymore. He's going to leave me and all this stuff. And there was a lot going on there, and that set in. Right. And so in our relationship, when like minor things at first would happen, that's how I would get really insecure. Right. And I have to remind myself that's different. That's a separate relationship. That's
and we reassure each other,
absolutely.
Which is good. But I also, like for the name calling, I'm never dug that, like engaging in that, because that's something or rude comments about somebody or their body, or like you were saying.
Yep.
That's something you can never take back.
Yeah, you can't. No, once it comes out of your mouth,
that's like a picture on the internet, baby. It's there forever.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
So think, don't let those trigger moments send you to a moment where your mouth becomes a Gatling gun.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can't take it back. And once you like beat somebody down with your words, yeah, it changes things. It really does. I've had relationships like that where it's like, okay, I can't, do this. Yeah, you in a relationship, you should reassure each other. Absolutely. It's important because we do get insecure and we are sensitive people and we do care about what the other people think and yeah, absolutely. So we got one more here. Let's read before we finish up.
All right.
This is from Jenna. She is big into horses, and I think she shows horses. She said, cool. She said, I am out-horsed. I will never be good enough to ride the filly I bred and will be doing her an injustice if I try to. So people, competitive in these types of things. And, I see this a lot, like with dog shows and stuff, people that are in that. It's like, you just want to put each other down and there's really no reason for that.
Right.
Nancy responded to her and said, I'm shaking my head in disbelief. What gives someone the right to throw down judgment to anyone? People who don't have a dream always want to take yours from you. Don't let them.
Yep.
That is a great statement there, is that they will. People that are...
Misery does love company.
Thank you. People that are lost, they will want to bring you down with them. If you're doing better than somebody, a lot of people will want to bring you down.
Yeah.
And that's really sad, but unfortunately, that's kind of how this works.
Yep.
So really, when it comes down to it, the only person that it really matters what they think of you is yourself.
Yes.
So take some time, like over the next week, to love yourself and treat yourself with respect. And then maybe it'll be easier for you to not care about what other people think because you know that you're a good person and you know who you are.
And that time is important, like you said, taking that time. But this is something you may have to work on. So when when you're getting dressed in the morning or whatever, what kind of things are you telling yourself when you look in the mirror?
Yes.
Most of us will be very critical of ourselves.
We absolutely will. Yep. I did it today. I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh, the wrinkles, like on the sides of my mouth and on my forehead. And I was like, you're getting so old. And then I stopped and I was like, don't think that way about yourself. It's fine.
I've always loved wrinkles.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something that shows wisdom and experience,
My grandma and my mom made such a big deal out of it. Like my grandma, when she died, had less wrinkles than I have now. And my mom too. They had that beautiful young Dutch skin because they never went out in the sun, and I've spent a lot of time in the sun.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was hard to accept because they were like that, but it doesn't matter. I'm getting older. You can't stop that.
No.
It's just like men that are bald. Like I've always been attracted to men that are bald.
Yeah.
But a lot of bald men, most are insecure about it.
Yeah.
And like stop being insecure about it because there are women out there that's what we're attracted to.
Yeah.
It's just like everything.
There was a time in life before I lost my hair or started balding that I was terrified of the concept because I had such big freaking hair for so long. It was hard to imagine it.
Yeah.
And so that thought terrified me. As the process happened, I started realizing, well, first of all, it's not like one day I went from having,
yeah, right.
The poof to nothing.
Right.
It's a process. It's like aging, like anything.
Yeah.
And you adapt, and it grows on you. You become more accustomed to it. And it's funny because having sort of gotten through that and let that go a long time ago, I've seen people in my life that can't. Yes, absolutely. And they look at you like, how do you... Yep. Well, what am I going to do? Sit here and harp on myself every day, all day long? I have no control over this. Right. What difference does it make? What difference does it? I mean, other than it's chilly sometimes. Yeah. Like last night we went to a wedding right on the... in Long Beach, and it was like... Yeah. Woo!
I know. I felt bad for you.
I asked if I could wear a hat because I knew it was going to be chilly, and thank God they were cool with that.
Yeah, definitely. My first husband was starting to lose his hair, and he was so like worried about it. And I'm like, but do you understand that like I like bald men? Like it's okay, let it go. No.
Yeah.
I didn't even really notice it. But yeah, there's so many men that are self-conscious about that. And women, it's usually about their weight.
Yeah.
You know, I used to be so self-conscious about my weight. I do not care. I don't care.
Good.
Yeah, and it feels so good to not care. You want to call me fat? Okay.
Right.
Do you think that I don't know?
I mean, you're not
hello?
irresponsibly reckless about it. It's not like,
I'm chunky.
you know,
That's all.
you're on the brink of having a massive stroke and heart attack,
No.
and you're like, I don't care. It's not like that.
No,
you know?
it's not like
But
that.
you start to understand that there's just some things about your makeup that you cannot really change.
No, you can't. And I think women especially, we try. You know, I always wanted like thick curly hair. Well, can't have that because it doesn't work that way. So
Yeah.
I'll always have this thin straight hair, which is fine. I accepted that. You know, I've accepted my body shape. Once I started really accepting those things about myself, life got easier because I really did stop caring that people were looking at me like, you know, what I was wearing. I dress the way that I'm comfortable dressing. I don't care. And I love women that are like that too. My friend Hannah, she's bigger girl, and she's probably listening. Hi, Hannah. But it's no shame, you know, no body shame. She wears what she's comfortable, and I just love that. And I think more people should dress what makes them comfortable, even if like other people are like, you know, don't dress like that. Then you know, what business is it of theirs? Like Lizzo, she's really good about that too.
Yeah.
So there we go, friends.
Cool.
Yay.
Very good.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode. So practice some of that this week, you know. Don't let what people think affect you so much.
Yeah. Focus on what you think of you.
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
Yay.
Good job.
Yay.
Well, before we say goodbye, want to share your info one more time?
Yes, so you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. Everything you need is there for our podcast, for my radio show. You can find it all.
Great.
And you, sir.
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Fabulous.
Well, we hope everybody got something out of this.
That we do.
Like Samantha said, go out there. Don't worry about whatever everybody thinks.
Yes.
Just go about your business, live your life.
Exactly.
Be kind,
Enjoy it.
though, and nice.
Yes, exactly.
And we hope everybody has a great week.
That we do.
Until next week.
Peace and love.